let's talk about the process. Big storm comes through, generates some hail. Whatever size that wants to be. Let's say it's golf ball size hail. Pretty damaging storm. You think you've got some damage. The next step is to confirm that damage. Now, if it's big enough and you've got damaged siding, broken windows, etc., you can just jump right to filing a claim. Occasionally during those storms, professionals like myself will come out. We can assess the situation and say, yep, you do have damage on your roof, or no, you don't. We think you're okay. During this time, some people will, from the ground, look up and go, oh, I don't see anything. Well, it's very difficult from the ground, unless you have a very steep pitched roof, to see hail damage and hail impacts, unless it's massive, and at which point there's no question. So it's always best to have somebody get up on that roof and confirm that there is or is not damage. Once that damage is confirmed, file a claim. This is where you're going to tell your agent, say, hey, we got damage from the storm. Can you let my carrier know so that they can send an adjuster? Yep, easy, simple process. Usually a phone call, quick email, nothing too crazy there. The carrier, let's say it's State Farm, will then contact you directly, and they will issue a field adjuster. That field adjuster is going to coordinate with you as far as times, availability, etc. Usually they've got, in larger storms, they've got multiple places to get to in a day, so they try to do their best to be there if you want to be there, etc. But for the most part, they're just going to hop up there, take a look around, and write up their report. That is the field adjuster. The field adjuster then turns that report into the desk adjuster. So they'll write it up. Field adjusters are sometimes independent. They don't work specifically for that carrier, and others are employed by the carrier. So State Farm may hire a person from wherever as an independent adjuster to go out and handle claims if they're too busy, or if they, their internal team is, taken off somewhere else doing other storms. So they'll send that out. That independent or that in-house adjuster will write up the report. They'll send it to the desk adjuster. The desk adjuster will review and compile that and then send it back to you. In this time from filing a claim to kind of getting a report back, there's usually some gap there. It's usually 5 to 7 days, sometimes 5 to 10 days, depending on the sustained damage in the area, how busy the claims team is, all sorts of factors. So while that's happening, I suggest you select a contractor. Something that's unique and different about this process is there really isn't a need for an estimate. I hear that occasionally where it's like, hey, can you provide an estimate? The process is different because it's not based on price. You still have to have the dollars to do the work. Don't get me wrong, there has to be money there for a contractor to pursue the work and for it to get done. However, the insurance will say this is what we're going to give you to cover this sustained damage. Now, the contractor will then, so you want to vet your contractor to get back on that. You want to vet your contractor based on a couple things. Are they reliable? Are they going to show up? How are they going to help you through the claims process? Are they going to explain things to you? Are they going to kind of coach you on how, this whole process is going to work? Are they going to do a good installation? Are they just in town for the storm, or are they, long-term residents? Are they nearby? All those things play a part, because down the line, if one shingle blows off or you start to have some leak develop in a valley, like, you need to be able to call them and say, hey, we've got a warranty issue. Can you come take a look? We think something got installed wrong. We're not totally sure. Anyways, that is something to consider when vetting a contractor. So it's not necessarily based on price. You want to vet your contractor based on circumstance. So who are they? What do they stand for? What are their values? Are they going to treat you well? Are they going to treat you right? Is it the type of person you want to interact with during this process? Because it becomes lengthy. There are times where this draws out. You have to go back and forth with insurance, figure out what the statement of loss looks like and what the coverage was, and there's some it can get drawn out depending on the policy and the damage and many factors. So you want somebody you connect with. After you get there, we're going to go to number 6. Review insurance documents. So this is assuming desk adjuster, reviewed the field adjuster work or their packet. They put it together, they sent it to you, and now you've got it. And so you'll have this packet, and what you want to do is work with your contractor or a claims professional, depending on how vast the damage is. Maybe you've got massive claims, in which point at which point you want a more developed team, not just one contractor or a very large and reputable contractor to handle large and detailed claims. That typically that contractor and their team will be able to take that insurance document, that statement of loss, that packet, that estimate from the adjuster, from the desk adjuster, and go, okay, this looks great. We've got all the money here. We need to do it. Pick out your color. That is the best case scenario, right? Like pick your new shingle color. We'll use a roof for example. Pick your shingle color. We'll get everything ordered up. We'll get it replaced, and we'll do it for the cost that they are saying it is. That's rare. That doesn't happen that often. Typically, what happens is those field adjusters are working, anywhere from 3 to 5 claims every day, and they're up on roofs doing the best they can to take measurements and get everything written down and take photos, put it together, and send it out, and then they're on to the next. What happens is they miss things, not on purpose. They're not bad people. They just are doing a lot of volume typically on a big storm, and they don't catch everything. And so our job is to make sure that estimate from the adjuster reflects the actual work that needs to take place. So usually I see those claims come back and they're at roughly 60 to 75% of what the actual value of replacing that roof is. So the contractor and their claims team should work together to rewrite that estimate, and then they submit that to the insurance either beforehand or during work as a supplement to then get the sort of the difference made up to be paid for by insurance, based on actual, factual things like, hey, you forgot 2 square of shingles. Like, we need to add that in. This is the measurements. This is where it was off. And then you just got to show that to them, and typically that's kind of the end of the story there. So I call that working the claim. You can, call it whatever you want, but essentially you get those documents from insurance. You show them to your claim team, to your contractor, to whoever's helping you kind of assess the situation and move forward, and then they will work the claim to get it to the actual value that it needs to be so you can get your roof replaced. I see far too often where someone will say, well, insurance gave me $5,000. It's like, well, okay, you have an ACV and RCV policy, and what do we have to do to make up that difference if you don't? And did they include everything in their estimate? Typically it's no. So again, that's where a good team helps get that money so you don't have to pay the difference, because $5,000 just won't cover a new roof typically. Small roof maybe, but so that's an important piece. So you're not necessarily selecting a contractor based on their price. You're selecting a contractor who can help you get the money or make sure it's accurate from insurance to then do the work. You'll have to pay your deductible, which is anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 is a standard home deductible. That changes all the time. It's not set in stone. That's just an average range that I usually see. And then once that gets ironed out, that's all figured out, then you just replace the roof. That part's easy. But as you can see, there are 6 steps. There's more if you want to get more detailed, but that's a general example. 6 steps to kind of work through before we replace a roof. It is important to pick a contractor and a team or a team that fits what you want now and down the line. Understand that this is a cumbersome process. There's a lot of back and forth, and typically, our team, for example, our team and the carriers can come to an agreement on every roof of why we see it should be replaced or what we see that's different from them, and this is why, and we back it up with evidence and actual costs and data, and then we get it to where it needs to be. Hope that helps.